Welcome back in, folks. This is JE Live, and I am back. And after another Rams loss, we're kind of getting used to these things. Definitely not easy to go live after a loss, but you know, today was tough. Today was definitely tough. I mean, you're kind of hoping as a fan, as somebody that covers the team. You're hoping they're able to kind of string some crazy thing together, and they have the talent to do it, and it didn't happen. So basically, it's a bummer. Obviously not the thing that we could have had. Like, I mean, no one could have predicted this type of outcome, but at the same time, it's not their year, and I think that's kind of been the best way to approach this, at least for me, is I kind of looked at this. I'm like, all right, now that they have lost this game, there's no false hope. Like, it's gone. Like there are games left, but it's really done. I mean, this really felt like the end of the season. Not being able to beat the Cardinals and the Saints back to back, two teams that I don't think are really good football teams. It's just not really acceptable, excusable, and this is what you are. When people say, well, we're 3-7, but we're not really a 3-7 team. Your record is what your record is, okay? And it may seem unfair at times. You look at the Buccaneers game, they make one stop, and it's a different thing. But the Rams right now in a vacuum are a 3-7 football team. And, it's time to just understand that. And even me, I've been called Mr. Optimist far too many times, and saying I've been a little soft on the coverage of the Rams, which I would disagree, because the last few episodes I've been pretty adamantly frustrated, pissed off, and, kind of expressing the same feelings that you would. But yeah, I look at this team and I'm like, they had every opportunity to win this game. They had every opportunity to win the Arizona game. They had every opportunity to win the Buccaneers game. They had every opportunity to win both 49ers games. The second 49ers game was more of just, it was bad. But, I mean, they had an opportunity to beat the Cowboys. And let's be honest here. This is a nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare scenario. Now, would you take a better season going, say, 12-5 and not winning a Super Bowl, as long as it meant not having a season like this? Or would you take this season and win a Super Bowl? I mean, I think most people would just take that. So the way I see it is this. It's frustrating. Okay. It's absolutely frustrating. It's hard to watch. But I don't know. I'm at the point where I needed this one way or another. I needed a clear victory by the Rams to show that, okay, they still got something left in the tank, or I needed just a clear loss. This was a clear loss. Is this a completely different game if Stafford doesn't go down? Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I think they probably win if Stafford doesn't go down. When Stafford went down with the injury, likely a concussion. He's in concussion protocol. We'll find out. I felt like that was it. I mean, I have a tremendous amount of respect for Bryce Perkins. He's a friend of the show. But that's a lot to put that guy in there and be like, hey, go win us this game. And especially when you're Sean McVay, who doesn't run the football. They ran it today a little bit, 23 times. They ran it with the running backs. Altogether, they went 30 for 148 on the ground. That's 4.9 yards per carry. Perkins went 5 of 10 for 64 yards. Stafford went 11 of 18 for 159 yards. The thing that sucks is that the Stafford we saw today, coming back from that concussion, very much looked like 2021 Matthew Stafford. And the injury to Ty Nsekhe really hurt because now the Rams are down to not just their backup. Because, sorry, not to call out anybody, but I had a little bit of an issue with the broadcast making it sound like Bobby Evans is a backup. He's not a backup left tackle, folks. Bobby Evans would be their fourth option at left tackle. You have Noteboom, you have Alaric, you have Ty Nsekhe, and Bobby Evans, fourth option at left tackle. That's not their backup. That's their fourth string left tackle. Okay? Fourth string. So it's like part of me is like, I'm annoyed. I feel like this game absolutely could have been won. I feel like it should have been won. And, I like some things that they did. I like that they finally got Tutu going. I know that there were people that were pushing back on me saying that, Tutu Atwell just isn't good, Jake. Move on. And I was like, no. He's a second-round pick from 2021, and the guy, anytime he's been out there, he makes a play. You look at the play against Dallas, and they don't use him for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever, and then they use him again. Sure enough, he catches a 62-yard bomb. He only had one target all day. It's frustrating because I think they did some things right. They came in, they wanted to run the ball. Again, I don't get the running back thing. I don't know, has anyone found out if Henderson, if he got hurt, because just pulling Henderson made zero sense to me. I can't even pretend to understand that. I don't think that's what they did. And I haven't seen anything on it. I'll keep an eye out. I would imagine someone will ask Sean McVay because Henderson got 2 carries, went for 9 yards, which is 4.5 a carry. And we didn't see him the rest of the game. So I'm very curious to see what happened there with Henderson. I'm looking it up now to see if anything happened. But, I mean, I don't know. There's no reason not to play him. So, I'm looking right now and I don't see anything on him. I guess they benched him. I don't know. So, really bizarre what happened to Henderson. Like I said, I mean, was he absolutely dominating? No, but he had 2 carries for 9 yards, and then they didn't go to him again, and they made it all about Akers, who ended up with 4.4 yards per carry. Not the best, but not bad. Kyron went 7 carries for 36 yards, 5.1 yards per carry average. Perkins added 5 for 39. So, you had that going. All in all, this Rams team just isn't a good football team. Fully healthy, that's a different story. But they are way too banged up to say this is a good football team. Obviously not without Stafford. But, I mean, it goes beyond that. The offensive line, you have your 4th string left tackle here. You have your 3rd string guard here. You have your backup center there. It's been a lot. So I think it's definitely time. We're gonna definitely shift gears. We're still gonna cover each game. I'm not gonna give up on that. So we will be previewing each game each week, but there is going to be a shift on this channel, more covering the draft for the Rams portion of this. I'm still covering the Jets, so I will be covering, the Jets, and they could make the playoffs. I mean, today was absolutely crushing to lose on a punt return touchdown. But yeah, I mean, looking at the offense, there's a lot that they have to clean up, and then I think when you look at the defense, I think there's still, I've been defending the defense for weeks, and I think they're starting to really feel it. There are some guys that are playing really good. I mean, you look at Leonard Floyd, he had 2 sacks today. Love what I'm seeing out of Leonard Floyd. I thought Greg Gaines looked outstanding. Unfortunately, he's in a contract year, so I'm not necessarily 100% sure he'll come back. Bobby Wagner flying all over the place. But we have to have a serious conversation about Taylor Rapp and Nick Scott. Because I don't personally, I don't think they have the talent in the back end of the secondary to withstand a Chris Olave, and we saw that touchdown they gave up. Everyone's blaming Jalen Ramsey, but I mean, whether he was burned or not, and we don't know what the play was. We don't know if he's going with the trail technique, assuming that Taylor Rapp is going to be at the top of the stem or whatever. Like, we don't know, right? So the way I see it is like you're watching Taylor Rapp, and there are just these moments. The glass shattered for me. I'll never say anyone's trash, right? I won't do that. But I started to notice something with Taylor Rapp, and it's really started to come up when I've been watching the tape, and then this week, it just blew my mind. There were multiple times where Rapp took the inside leverage on a screen, a bubble screen, whether it was to Kamara or whoever. He would take the inside leverage when a guy had already committed to the inside, or he'd take the outside when a guy had already committed to the outside. He is the last line of defense. So when he takes the outside and the other guy took the outside, now it's easy for a ball carrier to be like, oh, so they're going that way. So since I have two guys on the outside of this block that my guy is engaged with, I'm going to go to the inside. And that's what they were doing, or vice versa. They got away with a huge one. You had the trick play that ended up turning into a sack, the double pass, or the double end around pass that turned into a sack because you had Taylor Rapp in coverage, and he just let Kamara go by him. So it's gotten to the point where, I can't sit here and make any more excuses for Taylor Rapp. I think Jalen Ramsey is carrying this secondary on his back. I don't know why Durant is not playing. Mind-blowing to me that Jacoby Durant isn't playing on the defensive side and Darion Kendrick is, when he's not as athletic as Durant, and I don't think he's as good. I think it's time to let Quentin Lake and Russ East play. I think it's really time to start letting these young guys play. Look, Nick Scott is in a contract year. Taylor Rapp's in a contract year. You move on from them. Nick Scott was very important to that Super Bowl. He played very well down the stretch. That's not the same Nick Scott that I've seen this year. And Taylor Rapp is really the weakest link on the defense. Based on what I've watched, I'm willing to say that now. Troy Hill is not 2020 Troy Hill. He's not bad, but he's not 2020 Troy Hill. This is just not the defense that we were expecting. They added Bobby Wagner, great pickup. Ernest Jones is really good. The trenches with Ashawn, Donald, Gaines, you like that. Obviously, I mentioned Floyd earlier. He looks like Floyd of, last year. Now that he's fully healthy, they're not getting really much edge pressure off the other side. But my biggest issue lies in the secondary. Right now, it's Jalen Ramsey and everybody else. No Jordan Fuller. Would Jordan Fuller even make much of an impact? I don't know. I haven't seen Jordan Fuller look that great since his rookie year. I think he kind of tailed off a little bit last year. So I think the Rams definitely going into the draft, looking at a second, a third rounder, bunch of, fifths, sixths, sevenths, whatever. I think they're definitely going to have to address the secondary. I hate to say it because they've already spent capital, in the draft. They spent a third rounder on David Long, who you're not going to bring back. They spent a fourth rounder on Jacoby Durant. They spent a sixth rounder on Darion Kendrick. They spent a fourth rounder on Robert Rochelle. Apparently Rochelle's just a great special teamer because now they don't even want to use him on defense. So I don't know what's going on there. Troy Hill's a free agent after the season. And it's really just Jalen Ramsey, right? Jordan Fuller's dealing with injuries. They cut Terrell Burgess outright, which I don't know how you look at Terrell. I don't know how you look at Taylor Rapp and say Terrell Burgess couldn't make this team or couldn't be on this team. I don't know. So that is where I'm at right now. The secondary is an issue. People are going to point at the offensive line, but a healthy offensive line this year, and I don't think we're talking about this right now. You look at their offensive line, if it was, the way it's supposed to be, it would be Noteboom at left tackle. At left guard, it'd be David Edwards. At center, it'd be Brian Allen. At right guard, it'd be Coleman Shelton / Logan Bruss. And at right tackle, it'd be Rob Havenstein. I don't think you just dump all of your picks into the offensive line. Now, Noteboom's injury concerns bother me. Alaric Jackson's blood clots bother me. So the Rams might look to get a true left tackle of the future in the draft. Wouldn't be surprised if they spent a second rounder on one. But what I'm saying right now, based on what I've seen, is that I don't think the offensive line is the issue if they were fully healthy. They've been hit with an abnormal amount of injuries. Okay, Logan Bruss tearing his ACL before the season started, no one could have seen that coming. That was going to be your 6th guy or 7th guy. And now all of a sudden he's out. So they're dealing with a lot. I think they're definitely going to have plenty of needs, if you will, or whatever you want to call it, targets, positional targets, where you can be like, all right, you could justify them getting a safety or a corner. They wanted, in my opinion, I think Jaquan Brisker was an absolute stud in the draft. I wanted him. I thought he was a great safety. I didn't think the Rams would get him, but the Rams are very interested in Jaquan Brisker. So maybe that speaks volumes to what they might want to do this offseason. Maybe they go after safety. Maybe they go after safety in the draft. Maybe they go after safety in the offseason. Who knows? So that's something to be said. The linebackers are good, right? Greg Gaines is going to be a free agent. Hopefully they can bring him back. I don't know. Ashawn's going to be a free agent. So you're just going to have Donald. You're going to have Bobby Brown. You're going to have Marquise Copeland. I like Copeland a lot. We know nothing about Bobby Brown. He's a 4th-round pick that hasn't done anything. So, he's got great upside, but we haven't seen him. So he hasn't really done anything. You look at the linebackers are good. You got Bobby Wagner signed a 5-year deal, and then you got Ernest Jones. You're good there. Traven Howard will probably be back on an exclusive rights deal. And I like Christian Roseboom and Jake Hummel. So you're good there. Then you look at, corner, and I am a believer in Robert Rochelle. I think he should be playing, and I think Jacoby Durant should be playing. David Long is gone after the year. They're not going to bring him back. Darion Kendrick, I don't know why he's playing so much. I don't think he's been all that great. I don't hate on him. I don't hate him. He's a 6th-round pick. He's doing what he can, but he doesn't have that athleticism the other guys that I just mentioned have. I mean, great athletes. The numbers on Rochelle and Durant are massive. They're fantastic athletes. So, that's something there. So you got Ramsey, you got Rochelle, you got Durant, you got Kendrick, and that's really it in your secondary next year. So they could absolutely add another corner just because, maybe coming in the year we thought they were going to have a surplus. Maybe they're not as high on Rochelle as anything more than a special teamer. They go out and get a guy. They drafted Quentin Lake and Russ Yeast, who they like a lot. They're both on the active roster now. And I think both of those guys are going to get a run at safety next year. Do you look at drafting a safety earlier? Potentially. But I think definitely you're going to have to add some depth in the secondary. Linebacker, you're good. Defensive line, maybe add somebody there. Offensive line, what do? You got Noteboom, who you could get rid of for limited pain, I guess, if you want to put it that way, because of his injury. They kind of put a little clause in his deal. I don't know if that's the best word, but there's like an insurance thing there in case what happened. So you have that happening with Noteboom, whether he's back or not. Alaric was very promising, and now he has the blood clots he's dealing with. You just have to hope he's okay. That's not a good thing. That scares the hell out of me. So, I think when you look at Alaric Jackson, he's definitely somebody that you're looking at potentially to be the left tackle. And then the blood clots and the injuries, you start to wonder, right? So I could see the Rams really addressing the left tackle or tackle position in general. You paid Havenstein long-term. You got another year with Brian Allen, another 2 years with Brian Allen, another year with Coleman Shelton. David Edwards is a free agent. You'll have to figure that out. With the concussions, I don't know if Edwards comes back. Maybe he's cheaper. I don't know. But they're going to have to be careful with that. Tight end, Tyler Higbee has made significant strides this year. And I think if it was a regular season, he would have had close to 900 receiving yards, would have put himself on the map. So it is frustrating to see Tyler Higbee being held back, but definitely liked what I saw out of him. They got to figure out a way to develop, though, because you got Bryson Hopkins, you got Kendall Blanton on the practice squad. Where are they going to go with those two? Are they the future? Are they not? They have to figure that out. Is Jacob Harris a tight end, a wide receiver? They have to figure that out. So that's a big thing. Receiver, Allen Robinson signed a 3-year deal. He's got 2 years left. You got Van Jefferson. He was drafted in 2020. He's going to be up in 2024. So that's when he'll be his contract will expire. Tutu Atwell, 2021. He'll be up in 2025. So you have those guys. Cooper Kupp is set long term. So you talk about, Kupp, Robinson, Atwell, and Jefferson. You have those guys locked up. Powell's on a 1-year deal, so he won't be back likely. Maybe he is. I don't know. And then after that, you have Lance McCutcheon, who is probably going to be an exclusive rights free agent. You'll have to figure that out, but I imagine that he is probably going to be around for a few years. So there are definitely guys there. There's room for another receiver. They showed interest in Brandon Cooks. That's real interest from both parties. Cooks would like to be back. I could see them exploring that in the offseason. I think it's very possible that we watch OBJ go to the Giants, play for the Giants, try to win a Super Bowl with the Giants, and then the offseason come back to the Rams on a multi-year deal. I think that's absolutely a possibility. I also think it's a possibility the Rams trade for Brandon Cooks. I think they probably will go wide receiver. They're going to draft a running back. I 100% believe that. I don't know if I necessarily agree. If you could bring back Henderson at a cheap deal, you have Henderson, you have Kyron Williams, you have Cam Akers. If you roll with that trio, you're probably good. With better blocking, you're probably good. If you commit to the run, you're probably good. But if they want to go out and they want to get a running back, I wouldn't be surprised if they do that. I'm sure they want Bijan Robinson. He just beat the literal crap out of my Jayhawks yesterday. But he's not an option. He's going to be a first-round talent. So, the options are a little limited because you don't have a first-round pick, and that first-round pick is going to be picked way high. So it's going to be a serious look in the mirror this offseason. The Rams are going to have a lot to do, a lot to think about. I think that there's a lot of different moves they can make. But one thing I got to say, okay, I don't think that it's a guarantee Stafford's back next year. I'm going to say that right now. I don't care how controversial that sounds. I'm not trying to start anything. I don't know I don't have any insider knowledge on this. But I'll be honest with you. I don't think it's a guarantee Stafford's back next year. I could absolutely see him retiring. 100%. Could absolutely see Stafford retiring because the concussions are a problem. See, he'll deal with the injuries. He'll deal with the arm stuff. He'll deal with the back stuff. He'll deal with the shoulder stuff. He knows what he signed up for. He knows he's going to be in pain. He knows that, as his kids get older, he is going to, he's going to deal with it, right? He's going to have arthritis. He knows that. But the concussions, when you start messing with the mind, the brain, the livelihood of, he's a father, he's a husband, he's a brother, a friend, a son. Like, now you're treading on thin ice. And I just feel like Stafford is such a great quarterback. I believe when everything is together, and obviously this season has just been a disaster, but when everything's together, Stafford is a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. And I would push back against anyone who disagreed because I think he proved it last year. And I think he's proven it despite the fact he's got no offensive line to speak of, and he just makes things happen. He had 2 touchdowns in this game. He had 159 yards, an 8.8 average, and he had 126.8 passer rating. I absolutely believe they win this game if he didn't get hurt. But here's the problem, okay? We got to think less about the player, more about the person. And Kelly Stafford on her podcast voiced very big concerns about the concussions. It's different when it's bumps and bruises. It's different when it's a broken leg here and, a banged up arm here. But now it's the brain. and you worry about the CTE and the long-term effects and losing your mind to the point you don't even remember people, that's the thing. Okay. You don't want to run into the fact that Stafford won't be the same guy. So I'm going to say this right now. I'm not saying he 100% retires, but this could be serious. This is really going to test how much Aaron Donald really wants to come back. This is going to test how long Stafford can go on with this, because if he just suffered another concussion back to back, that's scary. That happened with Edwards earlier in the year. I just think at this point we shouldn't be surprised. Stafford won a Super Bowl last year. He's 34 years old. He signed the deal. Kelly was talking about how she would give up all the fame and the money away, if it meant that he wouldn't have, CTE and he wouldn't like the injuries. Like, it's a serious thing. And, we just saw the whole Tom Brady Giselle moment, right? Everyone was talking about that. Who's to say that, Kelly doesn't put her foot down and be like, hey, obviously not going to go as far as that whole thing went. And we don't know why it went that way. I'm not going to talk too much about that. But what's to say, Kelly doesn't go like, hey, I can't do this. I can't lose you. I can't have this happen. And I think she'd be absolutely justified in doing so, because when you're dealing with CTE, it's a completely different ballgame. So that was the thing. When Stafford went down, I was like, crap, because it wasn't about the Rams winning the game or losing the game in that moment. I'm thinking this is his second concussion, probably shouldn't have played. I know he, went through the protocol, but I'm thinking if it's his second concussion, he's probably out for the year. And, I think his career is in doubt at that point. And it's not that he couldn't go on and play, but it's like the risk of suffering another concussion. CTE is real. There are way too many studies out there to even bother with that. So you're not going to mess with science, okay? CTE is real. It's dangerous. It's a big thing. It's very concerning. So you hope Stafford's okay. You hope it's not a concussion. I didn't get word on if it was or if it wasn't. I hope it's not, but I'm at the point where this is going to be a transformative offseason. Okay. It's not as simple as I thought, where you could just, you take some wheels off, you take a pit stop, right? You get new tires, you get a wedge adjustment, get some oil in there, all that. No. This is going to be a transformative offseason. We could see some coaches fired, which is very new for Sean McVay. They typically don't let go of coaches. You could see some players let go, traded, cap casualties, all that. You could see players retiring. And I think Stafford is absolutely a candidate to retire. And I think on top of it, 100%, I believe that Aaron Donald could retire, because Aaron Donald, his thing is his family's in Pittsburgh, and I could totally see him wanting to just be with his family. I know people have brought up, well, could the Rams trade him to Pittsburgh? No. Aaron Donald cares about his legacy. So Aaron Donald, that's why he wanted to go for another ring. But could he have imagined this? No, I don't think anybody thought this was going to happen. And so I could definitely see him retiring. And I don't think it's quitting. Hey, if you're not into it the way you were the year before, that's different, So, that's my thoughts. I think it's going to be transformative. I'm not saying, it's not the end of the world. Next year, the Rams could be looking at a last place schedule, easier schedule. They have a second round pick this year, which is nice, and they have talent. We can't say that they don't have talent, but there is, there's going to be some changes made. There's going to be some big decisions to be made. And, it could be massive. It could be Stafford was the quarterback for the Rams for 1.5 years. Could be looking at that. And I don't think it was anything that Stafford didn't do, but I think he could retire. I mean, I could absolutely see it. And I think it's just something that we should prepare for. I think this offseason is going to be very interesting. It's not going to be one of those where they make a couple of moves. Like, it's going to be pretty big. So, definitely look for that. Guys, be sure to hit the thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. I'm constantly doing Rams content, even when they're losing, especially when they're winning, but always when they're losing, because we're no fair weather fans, and we're definitely no fair weather content creators. Because my first year, for those of you who didn't know this, my first year ever content creating, I had the Downtown Rams podcast. I started with Blaine Grisack. And if you guys didn't know this, I started that podcast when they moved to LA. Not because they left St. Louis, but that was when I was in I had the ability to podcast. It was brought to my attention that, hey, this is an opportunity that you have. You can write about the team. You can all that. 2016, they were terrible. Okay. 4-12 after starting 3-1. I remember Case Keenum eating victory waffles, and they didn't win a game after that. So they won one game after that. So look, I've seen the bad. I mean, I watched the 1-15 Rams, the 1-15 Rams that led to them drafting Sam Bradford. I watched the 2-14 Rams when Sam Bradford went down with an injury. I watched the 7-9 teams. I watched the 6-10. It didn't matter. I've watched every team. I've literally never missed a game. I will never promise you this. I'll never be fair weather. So, there are people that were asking me, like, how do you even come up on here and do this? And I'm like, I don't know any other way. I mean, I'm not going to come up here and act like I don't care about the team. I'm not going to, it's so easy to be like, oh, I'm covering the team. They won the Super Bowl and be all high and mighty. But if you can't give your fan base, your audience, your listeners, all that, if you can't give them the same time you gave them when they're down as you did when you were up, then you're fake. And I'm not that. So we'll continue to keep the live streams going. Probably be more, like I said, I'll be more draft centric in regards to the Rams. Might do some live streams in regards to the Jets. Tough loss today. They're 6-4 though. They're definitely very much in the thick of things. They just had a huge opportunity to go 7-3 and be in first place in the AFC East going into Week 12, but that didn't happen. But we'll be here. So next week is the Chiefs, and spoiler alert, I don't think the Rams are winning that game. And for those of you keeping score at home, I don't think I've ever picked against the Rams, because it's hard to pick against the Rams this year. I mean, it's hard to pick against the Rams when you have all that talent and, they won a Super Bowl and all that. For people saying like, hey, bandwagon, or not bandwagon, hey, Homer, stop picking the Rams. Don't worry. I'm not picking the Rams against the Chiefs. That's just not happening. If they beat the Chiefs, then I can be wrong. But I'm not picking the Rams to beat the Chiefs. I'm not. Spoiler alert. So I will be talking about this on Tuesday with Cam for Believe in Rams. We'll have that episode out on Tuesday. And with Alexis and I for DTR, it might be Monday or Tuesday. We'll figure that out. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. I mean, I could go on and on and on. Next week, I think they should start Bryce Perkins. I think they have to start him over Wolford. He missed some throws, but I think you got to give the guy, like, Wolford isn't going to, they're 3-7. I know they're not going to tank this season, but I think Perkins gives you the best chance to win because his legs aren't just good, they're great. Like, you see him out in space and you're like, this guy could win you some games. If this was like, say he comes in at 0-0, I think Perkins could have won them the game. But being down 2 scores, it kind of limits how much you can do. You kind of pin your ears back and you rush the pass. In addition to that, Bobby Evans was at left tackle. So let's be fair here. If I was digging into Taylor Rapp on the defensive side, I definitely have to say something about Bobby Evans because, man, the pass sets were bad. He barely got any sort of punch on his man, and just letting these guys run by him. It's like, it really just makes you appreciate a guy like Ty Nsekhe, who let's remind people, in case you guys don't know, Ty Nsekhe was on this team in 2012 when they were the St. Louis Rams. He never played a down for that team, and it took him 10 years later to start for this team. And he's starting at age, 37, 38 years old without like any preparation. This guy's signed onto the roster and he's starting like 2 weeks later, and he's playing at a good level. I was really, really impressed with the way he played the last 2 weeks. And I think he deserves more credit. I don't think he gets enough credit. So I hope he's okay. I know he went down with an injury. Bobby Evans, if he starts at left tackle, you're going to get your quarterback killed. And I know the irony is that Stafford's injury didn't come from, that side. It was actually on Havenstein's side. A couple things I'll mention that bothered me in the game. I don't think they protect Stafford for a guy that is a Super Bowl champion. He's a proven winner and potentially a future Hall of Famer. To not protect him, to not get him any of those calls when he's clearly hit way after the whistle. You talk about leverage, body weight, he had his body weight on him, or, he hit him after the play and drove him to the ground. I watch that every week, get called for Burrow, get called for Herbert, get called for freaking Mac Jones, get called for Zach Wilson, get called for everyone except for Stafford. I can't stand it. That is one thing I have to say. I'm more upset that they can't protect Stafford, that they can't call anything when he's clearly hit afterwards. You look at every 49er game, it seems like he's hit afterwards. I mean, you guys know where I'm talking about with the Fred Warner hit in the NFC title game way after the play. I just think it's gotten to the point where it's a problem. You're not protecting the quarterback. And in addition to that, you talk about the head and neck area, right? How many times have the Rams gotten screwed on those bang bang plays where they accidentally hit the head or the neck, right? Well, did that not happen when Stafford was going down? He got hit in the crown of the helmet and there was no call. And then Stafford's out of the game after that. So basically, the refs did an awful job of protecting a franchise quarterback, a veteran quarterback, a guy who's earned these calls, being in the NFL, taking the punishment he has. I think he deserves to get a call or two. And then on top of that, let's be honest here, Stafford in the end zone, in their own territory, that was another one way after the play. And he gets like tabletopped over his offensive lineman and no one says a word. Actually, not to call out, the announcers again, but I think it was Jonathan Vilma on the, in the announcer booth. He said it was a good hit. I'm like, I couldn't believe they showed that again. And then he said it was a good hit. That's a late hit. I think Vilma played for the Saints, and it kind of felt like there was some Saints little bias to him because I mean, they threw it past to Kamara and he's like, oh man, this is exactly this is fantastic, man. Like I'm at the point where they got to start protecting Stafford though. Like this is ridiculous. This is now potentially his second concussion this season. He's getting tabletopped over his offensive line. I understand the offensive line needs to protect him, but he was getting late hit all last year and never got those calls. I mean, I don't know why it's number 9 who gets hit way after the play and no one cares, but Mac Jones is getting a call to potentially win a game 3 weeks ago against the Jets because it was a little bit of a late hit. I've gotten to the point where I can't stand it, and I don't think the referees are terrible. Like not all of them. And I think Ronald Torbert is probably one of the better ones in the league. The stats show it. He normally doesn't throw the flag. But there was definitely some issues I had, especially the Jalen Ramsey one. The hold that they called on, I think it was Jake Hummel at the beginning of that play, is the most ticky-tack, egregious call. That's a 38-yard penalty you just created for no reason. And if you're going to call that, then you got to call the block in the back in the Jets game on the punt return that won the Patriots the game. It's just really inconsistent stuff, But I mean, the Rams lost the game. I'm not going to blame the refs. I'm just voicing my opinion, things that bothered me, things that annoyed me. Those were definitely some of those things. Glad to see Akers get going a little bit. I don't know what's wrong with Henderson. God, if they actually benched him after 2 carries for 9 yards, we have bigger issues. I mean, that's just not acceptable. Love seeing Kyron Williams get going. Keep him going. Love to see that. You got Allen Robinson involved a little bit. Then you only had 5 targets his way. I think Stafford going down completely changed their game, changed the game plan. And at the end of the day, I think, again, the play calling just isn't good enough. It's just not good enough. They had every chance to win this game. So defense, once again, doesn't create turnovers. Andy Dalton, it wasn't just bend, don't break. Another thing I want to add, wasn't just bend, don't break. I know a lot of people are like, Raheem Morris, how do you feel about the bend, don't break? And yes, the horse collar tackle on Williams, absolutely, totally agree with that. But, it's always, the bend, don't break, don't side with, Raheem Morris and all that. Okay, here's the thing. Raheem Morris, his bend, don't break defense is not what we saw today. Those were mental errors. I watched Taylor Rapp miss multiple tackles, miss coverage opportunities, miss lane fills. He didn't fill in the right spot. He didn't take the proper angles. I watched Nick Scott miss a guy. I mean, I don't know the exact plays they're running, but it wasn't just the bend, don't break as to why these guys were open. There were some significant mental errors on the field today. Okay. I think the defense is absolutely exhausted. They've played way too many downs so far this year. No excuse, but I do think it has contributed. But again, I also think that we do have to have a serious conversation. We already kind of did about the safeties, in that room. Taysom Hill went for 9 carries for 52 yards. I mean, could it have been any more obvious? This was the X factor, the guy to look out for. They had no answer to stop him. They shut down Kamara, 12 carries for 42 yards, 42 carries. Chris Olave went over 100 yards and a touchdown. He caught the 53-yard bomb. Jawan Johnson outmuscled Jalen Ramsey. Not sure what was going on there. You had Jarvis Landry coming down with the touchdown. Raheed Shaheed gave him fits, in the special teams area. Kamara added 447 in the air. And, of course, Andy Dalton looked like Joe Montana out there today. 21 to 25, 3 touchdowns, had 149.6 passer rating. He was unbelievable, and that's what happens, of course, when, you play off as much as you did. So I don't necessarily think it was the scheme. I think there were really just some mental lapses that crushed this team. And that was just my take. I mean, obviously, if I went back and I watched the tape, it might be different. Hope Ty Nsekhe's okay. Hope Stafford's okay. I hope Peyton Turner's okay of the Saints. He got hurt as well. But that's going to be that. So hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm going to be more content will be out. Don't worry about that. But I'm going to take a little bit of a break tonight. Just kind of relax. I need it. Okay. At least USC won for those of you who celebrate. For those of you who aren't USC fans and are UCLA fans, you hate me right now, and I'm sorry. But hopefully USC can get in the college football playoff. I have Kansas basketball and I have the Devils and Knights in hockey. So I guess it's not the end of the world, but I think the Rams will be back. We just need one of those Avengers, the title cards at the end. The Rams will return in 2023 because that's how it feels about that. But yeah, so appreciate you guys. Before I head on out of here, I see that there were some donations. It didn't pop up for whatever reason. I was watching. It didn't pop up on my screen. Let's see. Melonbot, the word on the street is that Stafford is out after this, especially after Kelly's rant and him talking to the owner today. What do you think? He could retire. It's pretty much exactly what I was saying. I don't think it's a guarantee he does retire, but I think it's definitely now a possibility. It's something that needs to be discussed. It's something that needs to be understood why. He's not a quitter. I definitely don't want to see any of that. But, you know, there's definitely an argument to, you know, to be had that it makes sense to, you know, to retire. I had another, I'm trying to find it. See, this is amazing to me because I had another donation and it just disappeared. And I think it was, I saw it real quick. It was like a Niners logo. I'm trying to find it. Let's see. Any chance of me finding it? I don't know why all of my chat is like gone though. Let's see here. All right. I apologize. I can't find the donation. I don't know what YouTube is really acting out today. So, whoever donated, I appreciate you. And if you're watching this, just message me, you know, next time, comment, let me know what you know, your super chat, and I will answer that question. Or you can DM me and I'll answer it for you in private. I do apologize for that. I do appreciate your donations, both of you guys. Really does help out the channel, especially this time, because while I have people like you that are going to stick with me, I also have people that are not going to stick with me. And I'm not saying that they should, but, you know, I've had people that, you know, hey, the Rams were good. I'm going to follow Jake. I'm going to subscribe to Jake. Now that the Rams aren't playing good, I don't want to see any Rams content. I don't want to look at it. All right, that's fine. So, you know, the people that do, you know, support this channel, you mean a lot. Okay. That's not to throw shade. That's to commend you guys for being great. So appreciate you guys supporting me as always, you know, really appreciate it. And, we'll get this week. I'm going to commit to it. We're going to get, call-in going. So, you know, been really busy. Also, I'm not going to lie, I took a little bit of a week off. Not entirely, but I took some time off because I don't want to get burned out. And I've been playing MW2, so I'll be doing some Call of Duty, you know, Q&A streams throughout the week as well. But I'm also planning on doing call-in and getting MCU Edge back on track and getting Rams Edge back on track and, you know, getting my Jets content up because I've also been slacking on the Jets side. So a lot of stuff to do. And that's what I'll be doing. So appreciate you guys. I won't talk your ear off anymore. This has been JE Live. And unfortunately, the Rams fell 27-20 to the New Orleans Saints. On to Kansas City, as Bill Belichick would say. But I'm Jake Ellenbogen. You guys take care. Later, folks.